Imagine for a second that your body is a bustling, thriving city. And right in the middle of that city, completely under the radar, a group of construction workers goes rogue. They start building without a permit, ignoring all the rules, and they begin to grow and spread and consume resources meant for the rest of the city. That, in the simplest terms, is what cancer is. It's a construction project gone wild. And like any construction project, it has one non-negotiable requirement. It needs building materials. It needs a constant, unrelenting supply of food and energy to fuel its manic growth. We spend billions of dollars every year trying to blast that rogue construction site with chemotherapy, trying to burn it with radiation, trying to cut it out with surgery. But what if I told you there's a completely different angle to this fight? An angle that isn't about attacking the cancer cells directly, but about quietly, strategically pulling the rug out from under them. What if the key to weakening that enemy isn't just a better weapon, but simply controlling its supply lines? What actually happens in your body when those cancer cells suddenly find their food supply is gone? Because the answer is not as simple as them just shrinking away. It's a fascinating, complex, and for many people, a hopeful biological war story that is unfolding inside millions of bodies right now. And the choices you make every single day are the generals directing that battle. To understand what happens when we cut the supply, we first have to understand what cancer cells are actually hungry for. And the number one thing on the menu, their absolute favorite dish, is glucose, sugar. Now, every cell in your body uses glucose for energy. Your brain runs on it, your muscles need it. But cancer cells are different. They are gluttons. They have a metabolic process that is incredibly inefficient. They take that glucose and they ferment it, like yeast making wine, in a process called glycolysis. This is known as the Warburg effect, named after the scientist who discovered it nearly 100 years ago. Because this fermentation process is so inefficient, cancer cells need to consume massive, almost insane amounts of glucose just to survive and grow. They have way more insulin receptors on their surface than normal cells, acting like a net, dragging sugar out of your bloodstream to fuel their expansion. So, when you eat a meal high in refined carbohydrates or sugar, your blood glucose spikes. And for those rogue cells, it's like a dinner bell has just been rung. It's a feast. They get the signal to grow, divide, and thrive. But now, let's flip the script. Let's talk about what happens when that dinner bell goes silent. When you drastically reduce the availability of glucose, say, through a very low carbohydrate diet, or intermittent fasting, or a therapeutic ketogenic diet, something remarkable begins to happen. The cancer cells, which are addicted to sugar, suddenly find themselves in a famine. They can't adapt as easily as your healthy cells can. You see, your normal cells, your heart cells, your brain cells, your liver cells, they are incredibly flexible. When glucose runs low, they gracefully switch fuel sources. They begin to burn fat, specifically ketones, for energy. It's like a hybrid car seamlessly switching from gas to electricity. Cancer cells? They're a gas-guzzling old clunker. They lack the metabolic flexibility to run on ketones. They are hardwired for sugar, and when the sugar is gone, they sputter. They literally don't have the machinery to process anything else efficiently. And this is the first major event in the body when their food supply is cut off. You create a metabolic state of stress that is almost exclusive to the cancer cells. But the story gets even more interesting, and this is where most people get it wrong. They think, okay, if I starve the cancer, it will just die, and the tumor will vanish. It's not that simple. And this is where the real drama inside your body begins. Because when those cancer cells are starving, they don't just roll over and play dead. They fight back. They panic. They are desperate for survival, and they start sending out distress signals. They send out chemical flares into the surrounding tissue, screaming for help. And the body, in its incredible complexity, hears those screams. The body, in a tragic twist of irony, responds to these distress signals by trying to help. The body sees starving cells and thinks, we need to send them more fuel, more blood, more oxygen. So, the body begins a process called angiogenesis. It starts building new blood vessels, like constructing new highways, designed specifically to deliver fuel directly to the starving tumor. The body is literally building a superhighway to feed the enemy, because it doesn't know the enemy is there. It just sees cells in distress. This is the critical paradox of starving cancer. If you don't manage this process carefully, if you just cut sugar but don't address the body's response, you can actually trigger the tumor to become more aggressive, to grow its own blood supply and become stronger in the long run. And so, the real battle isn't just about cutting the food. It's about cutting the food while simultaneously blocking those distress signals. And this is where modern research is meeting ancient wisdom. You see, there are natural compounds found in food, things like curcumin from turmeric, EGCG from green tea, and resveratrol from grapes, that have been shown in studies to be anti-angiogenic. They help block the body's ability to build those new blood highways to the tumor. It's like you're not only cutting off the food supply, but you're also jamming the enemy's radio so they can't call for reinforcements. This is the 1-2 punch that makes metabolic therapy so powerful. You starve them, and you stop them from getting help. Now, let's zoom in even closer to the cellular level to see the actual death that occurs. As glucose starvation sets in, the cancer cell's mitochondria, that's the little power plant inside the cell, begins to malfunction. It can't produce energy, so the cell starts to fall apart from the inside. It can't repair its own damage. It becomes weak and vulnerable. And this is when your own immune system can finally step in. Cancer cells are smart. They normally fly under the radar, sending out signals that say, "Don't eat me. I'm one of you." They put up a "do not eat" sign to your immune cells. But when a cancer cell is starving, it gets stressed, and in its stress, it lowers that "do not eat" sign. It starts to wave a white flag, or worse, it starts to glow. It releases signals that basically shout to your immune system, "Hey, I'm the enemy. Come and get me." This is called immunogenic cell death. By starving the cancer cell, you are effectively taking its camouflage away and handing it over to your body's own police force, the natural killer cells and the T cells, to go in and clean house. You're not just killing the cancer with the starvation. You're using the starvation to make the cancer visible so your own body can finish the job. But there's another layer to this, and it has to do with inflammation. Chronic inflammation is like pouring gasoline on the fire of cancer. It's the environment cancer loves to grow in. The standard American diet, high in sugar and processed oils, is a pro-inflammatory diet. It constantly feeds the flames. But when you cut the food supply, particularly through fasting or a ketogenic diet, you also trigger a massive reduction in inflammation. You lower those inflammatory markers. You start to create an environment in your body where cancer struggles to survive. It's like you're not just taking away the cancer's food, you're also changing the climate of the battlefield. You're turning a hot, humid, swampy environment that cancer loves into a cold, dry, hostile desert. The cancer cells, which thrive in that swampy, inflamed state, begin to wither. And perhaps the most exciting part of this entire process is what happens to the rest of your body while the cancer is being starved. Your healthy cells, as we said, are feasting on ketones. They are thriving. Your brain function often improves. Your energy levels stabilize. Your inflammation drops. You start to lose excess weight, particularly the dangerous visceral fat around your organs, which itself is a hormone-producing factory that can fuel cancer growth. So, while the cancer is struggling, you are getting stronger. You are literally starving the disease while nourishing the host. This is the complete opposite of chemotherapy, which is essentially a poison that tries to kill fast-growing cells. But unfortunately, it also kills your healthy fast-growing cells, your hair follicles, your gut lining, your immune cells. Metabolic therapy, the idea of cutting the food supply, is targeted. It's smart. It exploits a fundamental weakness that cancer has, a weakness that normal cells don't. But we have to be absolutely clear about something. This is not a simple, eat less sugar and you're cured message. Cancer is a tricky, adaptable enemy. It can, in some cases, find other food sources. It can start to consume glutamine, another amino acid, or it can feed on fructose. It's a survivor. That's why a comprehensive approach is key. It's not just about cutting carbs. It's about changing the entire metabolic environment. It's about combining a low-glucose diet with targeted nutrients that block those backup pathways, with exercise that changes your body composition and lowers insulin, with stress reduction that lowers cortisol, and with sleep that allows your body to heal and regenerate. It's a symphony, not a single note. Think of your body as a garden. The standard advice is to use a flamethrower to burn the weeds, which also burns the flowers. That's chemotherapy. But what we're talking about here is changing the soil. We're talking about watering less, changing the pH, adding specific nutrients that only the flowers love, and pulling away the nutrients that the weeds need. Over time, the weeds starve and the flowers flourish. That is the power of understanding what happens when cancer cells lose their food supply. You take away the fuel, you block the reinforcements, you expose the enemy, and you strengthen the host. It's a revolution in how we think about this disease, and it puts the power back into the hands of the individual. It's a testament to the fact that the food you put on your fork every single day is the most powerful tool you have to influence the battles being fought inside your body. I'm incredibly curious to hear your thoughts on this. The conversation around cancer and nutrition is often met with skepticism, and I totally get that. But I want to know, has this changed the way you think about the relationship between food and disease? Have you or someone you know ever tried to alter their diet to manage a health condition like this? I read every single comment, and your stories and perspectives add so much to this community. Please, take a moment, share your thoughts or questions in the comments section below. Let's get a real conversation started. Because when we share our knowledge and our experiences, we all get a little bit stronger. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.